Sky here. It's late, October 1st. First day of October, Thursday, 2020. California Times. I might have to change the name. October Times. I mean, yeah, well, that's a good one. You see that. Who cares? Out on the back porch here in Oregon. Well, the whole America went down the rabbit hole yesterday. Was it 2 days ago already? Yeah, it was 2 days ago. You know, just because he messed up big time and maybe is a complete mess, etc., he still gets a lot of things right. And behalf of people who are conservative and are not at all happy with the vision of progress that's touted as progress in our world today by the opposing side, I'm just going to continue to speak about a few things, like the whole mail fraud, fear, etc., and fantasy as far as Mr. Trump is concerned. I think he's got some, I think everybody should have look at this deeply before we just throw the whole issue out as an unfounded reverse claim for him to achieve victory. Maybe, but I think there are some questions about mail-in voting that are deep, and he is what should we say, a lightning rod of emotions. Dare say people hate President Trump. Therefore, they might do things that might not be too rational, but because they want to get rid of him so direly. And after the debate last couple of days ago, if you call it that, I felt like definitely his time was about due to be off the stage. But still, in the defense of my client here, everybody needs the truth to come out. So I just wanted to talk for a couple of minutes about his, oh, can I get this now? Damn it. I brought my laptop out here, but it's probably not. Oh, here, Forbes. Pennsylvania election chief refutes. I just looked up this thing about the 9 ballots in Pennsylvania. It seemed very minor, right? 9 ballots. I mean, we're not talking about the election turning on 9 ballots, which Trump says just happened to have my name on them. But it is an interesting story. I've got two media sources. One, Forbes magazine, and one from the Military Times, kind of off-the-wall news sources. They might be drawing on the same source, but this one is written by their staff business writer, Ilana Lynn Gross. Pennsylvania election chief refutes Trump's claim that 9 discarded ballots were election fraud. To back up his claims that the presidential election will be marred by fraud, President Trump, twice during Tuesday night's presidential debate, cited the case of 9 ballots in Pennsylvania that were found in a trash can. But the state's top election official on Wednesday reiterated that an election worker's decision to throw out the ballots was a mistake and not intentional fraud. Well, let's see if I can get this story to scroll on my computer, even though I'm no longer hooked to the internet. But I think it's sitting there in the cache memory. Come on. Daggone thing. Key facts. Bullet. Trump has repeatedly brought up the 9 ballots cast in the battleground state over the past week, calling it election fraud. All right, that's a key fact, that he has repeatedly brings up this story of the 9 ballots, and the headline says it was refuted. Quote, the investigation is still going on, but from the initial reports we've been given, this was a bad era, Pennsylvania Secretary of State Kathy Boockvar said on a news conference referencing the probe launched Thursday by U.S. Attorney Dave Freed. All right. The headline says it's refuted. She says, quote, the investigation is still going on. The initial reports we've been given, this was simply a bad era. Pennsylvania's deputy, oh my God. Hey, it's getting late. Guy, you should be calling it a night. Where's a candle? Light a candle. Don't curse the darkness. Is that any better? No. Nice cabin. Where's that? More light? Oh, this is technology by candlelight. All right, ignore me and just listen. Pennsylvania's Deputy Secretary for Elections, Jonathan Marks, said, Deputy Secretary for Elections, said in some instances, military and overseas ballots arrive in Luzerne County, which is apparently like major battleground area, Pennsylvania in general, for the Trump election. Military and overseas ballots arrive in Luzerne County inside envelopes not clearly marked as ballots. And the usual process is to immediately reseal them and store them with other mail-in and absentee ballots before canvassing. Don't 100% understand that, why you open them and then immediately reseal them. Oh, I see. I get it, because they're not supposed to be counted maybe until Election Day. I think that's it. Bullet. Mark said the unnamed worker did not reach out to the elections office, and officials have said the person has been fired. Okay, they fired this unnamed worker. Department of State is training the county workers, another bullet, Department of State is training the county's election workers to do what to do when they find ballots in unmarked envelope, which Mark said is, quote, what needs to be tightened up. That's all. We have to train these guys on what to do when they find an unmarked envelope with election ballots. You don't throw it in the garbage. Further background. The FBI recovered 9 military ballots from a trash can, Freed said in a letter to local elections office last Thursday. 7 were completed ballots without the envelopes. Wow. All right, so they say the envelopes were bad envelopes, but they've recovered 7 that didn't have any envelopes, and they were all cast for Trump in the garbage pail. The 2 other ballots were put back into envelopes by unnamed election workers, Freed said. So I guess those 2 ballots are sealed again, and you don't know. The FBI also recovered 4 other empty absentee ballot envelopes, he said. Neither Freed nor the FBI said whether criminal charges are possible. It's unclear whether those 9 votes will be counted. Well, that's confusing. Now I wonder why they wouldn't be counted if they know that they found him. The chief critic says, this is clear politicization of the Justice Department's work in the middle of an active general election. Now, we have to figure this one out. Kristen Clark, executive director of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, said in response to the investigation, it seemed like a thinly veiled attempt to breathe life into President Trump's false claims about mail ballot fraud. Well, 9 in a garbage pail seems like a very tiny amount, but I don't know. Is it indicative of something? Someone want to ask a question? Is there other people in other offices who might throw a vote out if they had an opportunity if it looked like it had Trump's name on it? Okay, that was it for the bullets. Big number, further reading. So, all right, so the headline says, Pennsylvania election chief refutes Trump's claim. Pennsylvania election chief. In the Forbes article, maybe this is a bad article to get, doesn't say, but Pennsylvania Secretary of State says the investigation is still going on. But from the initial reports we've been given, this was simply a bad error. Oh, here's the Secretary for Elections. Jonathan Marks said the unnamed worker did not reach out to the elections office before he threw the ballots away, and this person has been fired. He just needs a little better training. Oh, we'll just fire him. But he didn't do anything really. It wasn't fraud to throw out all the ballots for Trump. I mean, it's just a really petty little thing, but it's like the media says it's been refuted in the headline. Secretary of State of Pennsylvania says it's still under investigation. Let's see what the Military Times says. Now, is that going to be a more prone to be balanced story? Was Forbes, would you expect Forbes to be a pro-Trump because it's big business? Or is it part of the liberal establishment? I'm saying that in quotes. All right, let's move this thing in. Let's find some more light. This is silly. Not much better. Over here, I should do this in the morning. Oh, Lord have mercy. Oh, guy. That's not going to work. All right, don't look at me. We'll just put the camera on the computer. No, just look at me. And we'll just read that together. You listen to me while I read it. All right, so the Military Times. And the Military Times is using the Associated Press. But still, you get a little different information from Forbes. It says 9 discarded military ballots weren't fraud, Pennsylvania election chief says. Just like the other headline, it says it was refuted. It's not fraud, says the election chief. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. It appears that an election worker's decision to throw out 9 military ballots in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, amounted to a mistake and not intentional fraud, the state's top elections official said Wednesday. Come on, computer. Workers in the elections office. Don't you love it how much garbage is on every computer screen? Is it just mine? It's a continual battle. Get these ads out of the way as you struggle to read anything. Workers in the elections office in Luzerne County are getting training on handling mailed-in military and overseas ballots, Secretary of State Kathy Boockvar said during an online news conference. The investigation is still going on. Once again, the investigation is still going on, said Boockvar, a member of Democratic Governor Tom Wolf's administration. Does that make a difference? This was not an intentional fraud, she says. So, training. But the investigation is still going on, she says. But then she says, it's not intentional fraud. So is the investigation closed? I don't know. It's still going on. But Could there be a bias on her part, or is only the president biased in his paranoia? President Donald Trump has repeatedly brought up the 9 ballots of what he calls evidence of election fraud in the past week. The president first mentioned the ballots during a radio appearance Thursday, hours before the Trump-nominated U.S. Attorney in Harrisburg, Dave Freed, put out a news release about the investigation. So there you're linking it to the Trump administration. This information never would have come out if it wasn't for the Trump administration, so that must mean it's all wrong. But yet, there it is. Jonathan Marks, the Pennsylvania Deputy Secretary, did I say that wrong again? Deputy Secretary for Elections said that in some cases, blah, blah, yes, the inside envelopes do not clearly mark them as ballots. The usual process when those types of ballots arrive is to immediately reseal them. He said, so it sounds like it was confusion, Mark said. Just confusion. Just don't look, don't worry, just confusion, just a little 9 ballots. 7 of them all had Trump's name on them in the garbage. The other 2 have been resealed. That's what needs to be tightened up, Mark said, just training. The unidentified worker, who officials have said was fired as a result, did not consult with others in the elections office. I mean, you would wonder if somebody just threw out ballots without consulting with someone. Yeah, I would say that he should be fired. If he doesn't like Trump, would that make it a case of fraud? Or I mean, he works for the elections department. I know it's petty, but the next thing is to look at all these mail-in ballots and what makes a disqualified ballot. That's a good question. That's a question for tomorrow. God. The thing is, despite his horrible behavior at the debate, and you might say generally, though I cut him some slack because I think so much is made over every little thing that it's ridiculous, that the man is genuinely worried, believing that there is bleep going on all over the place. All right? That's what he's believing. All right, I'm done for the night. Cheers, bye. Next time, maybe tomorrow.
And 3 trays of mail containing absentee ballots were found in a ditch. They were thrown in a ditch. 3 trays, it's a lot. In North Carolina, voters are reporting receiving 2 ballots in the mail. Many voters, I hear it's thousands, but they're getting 2 ballots. I wonder if those are Democrat areas, because the word is they are. In Iowa caucuses last winter, you know what happened there? You all reported it.
Final note, I believe Jimmy would have likely been an interview with so keep in mind that this wasn't recorded for that purpose, but used as story notes for a magazine article. To my knowledge, this never happened, as Mr. Martin passed away the following year. So with that, we're proud to present this lost interview between writer Pete Martin, Jimmy Stewart, and featuring a cameo appearance by Gloria Stewart and Finn the dog. Here we go.
I can say they move. Yeah, I can move. It's moving. See, that's all there is to it. Moving. Jumps in. I sit on the wire. You sit over here where you're comfortable. I thought I'd better sit because of my hearing thing. Just going to have to give it more thought. First put hour and then cut yourself off. It's been a long time since I came to see you first. You got a hearing aid, so is my wife, Jimmy. She has to turn those up once in a while. Well, but I'll look up nice. You need any more light than that, or I'm not paying you. I don't really need any more of that. That's just fine. I've got about a jotted down question in case I've run out of things to talk to you about. I don't think I will. I was on a national television show out of Chicago not long ago.